Tuned into WREK Atlanta 91.1 FM, and this is the Mobious. We are beginning our second hour. We are with you every Wednesday delivering the finest, eclectic, ethereal, engaging, and otherwise excellent electronic music on your radio dial. With me is my good friend Mic Mell. Good to see you.
Hey.
How are you?
Atlanta.
How's life treating you?
If it was any better, it would be exactly the same.
That is crazy. Boy, you haven't been here at the station in about 6 years now.
I haven't been here since 2004.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I believe we met in no small part because of this very show.
Indeed.
Many years ago, that's true. That's true. So, what you been up to?
Well, earlier this year, I actually released a new electronic album titled Low Blood Sugar.
Okay.
And I am now in the process of celebrating the 10th anniversary of making electronic music.
That is an awesome milestone to have. A lot of stuff has come out of that 10 years. I'm sure. Have you found yourself looking back and just realizing what has just transpired and the evolution from where you first put, I guess, mouse to screen and where you're at now?
It's definitely a whole different game.
Yeah.
And really, I think that I'm really grateful for all the opportunities that I've had to work with different electronic musicians and, to learn their craft and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just really looking forward, and tonight is sort of like the big turning point for me, like to really celebrate, the last 10 years of the music that I've created and then be able to just let go of that and do something brand new.
Certainly. It's always nice to have that sort of reinvention that in one's career, and certainly yours has been a very storied one. You've toured across the East Coast many times, the West Coast, many different formations and bands and musical projects. I remember you were part of the Future Funk Collective, a roving group of Motley Crue musicians.
The first album was really just an experiment, and actually got a little overcooked in the mix. And the new thing I've really been discovering recently is that if I want to create a piece of music, I can actually just focus on whatever that is, whether it be a purely experimental ambient piece or, a piece with all live musicians playing blues or, anywhere in between.
Right. When I first saw Trackers and picked them up back in the late 90s, I heard so much great music that came out of it and kind of lamented that it would never get big, and here we are 10 years later, and lo and behold, it has. And, a lot of the hallmark sounds, the tropes, if you will, of IDM, which is a terrible name. I always call it idiot douchebag music, but so it goes, even though it's pretty much the hallmark of the show. But so much of the tropes come from that sample-based, manipulation of those sounds, and it can be very free form, much less locked to a groove.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find yourself working with that kind of stuff, that mentality, that less sequenced, more organic, use the interface, stretch it to its limitations of a tracker?
Yeah, when I'm tracking, when I'm actually using that software, most of what I do is sample based.
Okay.
I don't do much. I haven't done much with synthesis over the last couple of years.
Okay.
And my intention is always to push the samples to the absolute limit. So I actually learned how to be able to truly, cut drum breaks into little itty bitty pieces and then flip them all around and scratch vocals and, really, really play with the sounds. And the freedom that the trackers give me to really manipulate the samples is like a whole different world.
So you're limited in some level of what you're doing, like what your sound sources are, especially with samples. You pick and choose at that point. And then you don't get so lost in the sound design aspect. You tend to really explore the song more than the sound.
Yeah, I actually never spent the amount of time into sound design that most of my peers have.
Right.
I've always been surrounded by people that, at least in electronic music, that have been, the absolute geniuses and at the top of their field. And so I never really tried to go in that direction, right? Which sometimes I wish I had, but overall I don't have any regrets about that.
Certainly.
And it's always been more about the sample manipulation and the actual composition for me.
Now, does that come from playing bass, keys, all that kind of stuff?
Some of it, I honestly think a lot of it just comes from having been touched by the hand of madness so many times.
Thank you so much for coming up and celebrating your 10th anniversary in electronic music with us here at the Mobius. Always love to have old friends and new faces up, and there's a big collection of that here today. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Without further ado, we're going to get right into the last 10 years of Mr. Mic Mell. You are tuned into the Mobius here on the true home of quality diverse music, WREK Atlanta, 91.1 FM.